here with you. You're here with me. Let's do this thing. Day 3. Say hi. Camera turned the right way. Okay. We are professional here, people. Oh, hey, Julie. Okay, starting the webinar on Zoom is in the house. What's up, Zoom? What's up, Facebook? I got Zoom, I got Facebook. Guess who's got to be introduced here next? You know who's next. Hi, Natalie. Who's here on Zoom with me? So I got Natalie saying hi, Julie saying hi on Facebook. Who's in the Zoom room here with me? Anyone? I'm also going to go live on old Instagram here. So let's do that. Who's out there? Hello. Hi. Okay. Zoom, Facebook, Instagram. Here we go. Hi, I'm Erin. This is day 3 of the 5-day mindful eating solution. And today's topic's a little kooky. I acknowledge that, but I'm hoping I can make some sense of it for you all. I'm going to give you the lay of the land on where this idea came from. And you know, these are completely unscripted conversations that I have with you guys. So just like, go with me on this, go with me on it. Okay. So the title of day 3 is rhythm. I'm talking about rhythm. And the spirit behind it is that your body runs on a certain rhythm. And if you can get into harmony with it, all this stuff becomes way easier, you guys, way easier. You know, I'm really into the whole simple thing. It's sort of in the name. I like simple. And this is an approach I learned, I want to say 12 years ago. I came across this concept really just completely accidentally when I was in the throes of my own health struggles. So I'm not going to bore you guys with my health struggles, but let's just put it out there. I became kind of metabolically broken, slowed down. I was pre-diabetic. I was getting kind of chubby. I had no energy. I was checked out of life. I felt miserable, whatever. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I started learning about the body. One of the first things I learned is this idea that the human body runs on a circadian clock. And it's like, obviously it does. Everything in nature runs on a circadian clock. And we're part of nature. We forget that sometimes. We forget that we're part of nature, right? So I went down this rabbit hole of learning about the circadian biology piece. It made so dang much sense. I couldn't ignore it. It was the very first thing I put into place for myself to get better. And it freaking worked like gangbusters. And now I shout it from the rooftops to anybody who will listen. So that's why I'm shouting it off the rooftops to all of you. And I'm going to get into the little sort of explanation of it here, super quick, super high level, just to be, you know, nimble and respectful of your time. But wherever you're watching, if you're watching on the gram, on Facebook, on Zoom, hit me with your questions. I got a couple of questions that were pre-submitted that I will answer. But first, I just want to kind of explain this a little bit. So there is a hormone in the body that is responsible for managing fuel. And that hormone is called insulin. Now, we're not going to blame insulin for anything. Insulin just is a hormone that lives in the body, and its job is to sort of manage fuel. Yesterday, we were talking about how, you know, your mindless eating habits might just be because you're hungry, might just be because your cells are kind of feeling undernourished. Well, insulin's a really important factor in nourishing your cells because it's the hormone that brings the nourishment into the cells. So you can be doing all the right things, but if that hormone is not really working optimally, or you're not working with it optimally, then the whole kind of thing falls apart. So what I learned, and I put this in the email today, so those who really received the email, you got it. I think I put it in an Instagram post today, so it's there too. But this makes complete sense when you think about it. When the sun rises, nature wakes up, right? So all the diurnal parts of nature, diurnal is the opposite of nocturnal. So diurnal is awake in the day. All of diurnal nature wakes up when the sun rises. Literally, we have receptors on our eyes and on our bodies that can sense the changing of the light. It is now the daytime, and metabolic processes kick in. This hormone insulin is churning and burning, ready to take up fuel. And what do we do? We have a black coffee, and we have a little yogurt when we get to the office. It's so lame. It's like, duh. Your biochemistry gave you a gift. It was like, here's a bunch of metabolic hormone ready to take up some amazing fuel and put it in your cells and start to manage your hunger and your appetite and get your energy fired up for the whole day. And you drank a coffee and ate a banana. You had a piece of toast with nut butter on it. It's like, oh, missed opportunity. I think that's real sad. So what I shared in the email, what I shared in the post, what I'm sharing with you now is take that opportunity. Say to your body, in a manner of speaking, yes, body, I hear you. You want me to feed you. You would like me to fuel the cells right now because it's the early part of the day. You're ready. You're waiting. Here you go, body. I got you. Step into rhythm with your body. Your body's operating on a rhythm, and we're just hell bent on like fighting that rhythm at every turn. Why not just get into harmony with it? Try it. What's the worst that could happen? Just get into harmony with the biochemical rhythm of your body. So the encouragement is it's a layering on top of what you learned yesterday. That's, by the way, that's how I like to teach things. I like to teach things small steps at a time that then layer over each other in a logical sequence. I'm really particular about that. Yesterday's lesson was prioritize protein because it's so nutrient dense. It gives your cells all of the energy building blocks information that it needs to sort of satiate that hunger that's coming from your cells. If you're less hungry, then you don't have as many snack urges, and that's kind of what we're trying to get to the bottom of here. So now we're going to take that concept and apply a little bit of a timing piece to it, which simply is knowing that our hunger signal is ultimately coming from the cells, okay? Knowing how to answer that hunger signal with protein, which is super nutrient dense, bioavailable amazingness. And now knowing that in the early part of the day, once the sun has risen, the body is waiting to catch and take up that nutrition. Let's put protein in the early part of the day. So I call this the epic break fast. People who work with me know the epic break fast. It's like, this is an opportunity. This is a gift. Your first hunger of the day is your body saying, my friend, we are ready for the day's most important fuel. Is breakfast the most important meal of the day? From a biochemical perspective, I think it might be. From a managing hunger perspective, from a mindful eating perspective, you better damn believe it's the most important hunger of the day, most important meal of the day. It can't hurt to try anyway. So your body cues up this amazing first hunger of the day. My request to you, my suggestion to you is answer it like you freaking mean it. You know what? I'm on the phone almost every day with people, either my current clients, prospective clients, people, right? Well, mostly prospective clients. And I'll say to them, give me a snapshot of your typical day of eating, just so I can get a sense of it. I have no judgment. I'm not going to, just tell me how you engage with food now. This is a question I like to get from my prospective clients. And I can't even tell you guys the frequency with which I hear, well, in the morning, I usually just have black coffee. And then when I get to work, I have like a granola bar. And it's like this really lame, really lame, daily inauguration into fueling. It's like, oh, because I'll tell you something else. I think that's sad. I think that's out of harmony with your body. And I think you've probably spent enough decades of your life fighting your body. So why not just, again, step in line with it? Just, have a nice relationship with it, get some harmony going. The other thing too, when you think about this, on the other end of the day, when the sun goes down, it's now evening time. What do? We have a huge meal. We order a bunch of takeout. We have a bunch of snacks in front of the TV. The body is not really expecting to take up and use a ton of fuel in the late part of the day. It's like, what the day? Okay, well, this animal's eating, so we'll figure out what to do with it. We eat totally upside down from the way our body is biochemically expecting, generally speaking, to take up food. So I'm just saying, why not flip the script? Put that nutrient dense food in the early part of the day when your body is ready to take it up and use it. This has been, as I said earlier, this is a factor that for me changed the game when I was unwell. For my clients, life-changing. And I think it's worth a try. I think it's worth a try. If you break fast epically, the way your hunger shows up for the rest of the day changes. So now you're not rifling through your desk at work. You're not hitting up the vending machine. You're not stopping at the drive-thru on the way home. You're not munching on crackers while you're making supper. You're answering your most important hunger of the day sufficiently. And then every other expression of hunger from that point on is totally different. Right? It's worth a try. So I know I'm getting some questions and I do want to get through them. So Jill says, if I wake up with hunger present and I don't answer it right away, and that happens, sometimes you can't because you're busy. I totally get it, believe me. Then my hunger passes quickly and it doesn't show up again until midday. Is it okay to ignore early part of the day hunger? I want to just, so I like this question, Jill. Awesome question. Jill asked that on Facebook. We're not going to, I don't want to call it semantics time, people. We're not going to call it ignoring hunger. You were putting it off because it was inconvenient. And I totally, I get that. I advocate for that. Sometimes your schedule doesn't allow you to just drop everything and feed because your nutrition coach told you to, your health coach told you to. So what I'm hearing from you for this question, Jill, is like, I just can't get to it until later. And then when my hunger shows up around midday, then I'm having my epic break fast. Is that okay? My answer is yes. I'm really intentional about the language I put around this because I know your schedules are nuts. I want to talk about that though. I'm going to talk about that for sure, but I get it. We're busy people. So the way I say this is have the bulk of your fuel in the early part of your day. So, when I say that, have the bulk of your fuel in the early part of the day. That really there's a lot of flexibility built into that language. It's like whatever your fuel is, I'm saying protein, put it in the early part of the day predominantly. The later part of the day should be kind of tapering off because the body's not expecting to have to put fuel to work in the late part of the day. In the early part of the day, it will. So midday, I'm still cool with that. Still cool with that. That's a good question. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question, Jill. Hopefully everybody got what I meant by that. So Jill can't answer her first hunger of the day because she's, doing something. She's busy. So she puts it off until the hunger shows up a little bit later and then feasibly, hopefully satisfies it with this sort of epic breakfast meal. That works for me. It's got to work. Hey, gang, this stuff has to work in your life. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So I'm super flexible on that stuff. So Instagram had a question, I think, come through. What are your thoughts on helping children following their rhythm with having to follow school eating schedule? Okay, this is a good question. And I get this question from teachers who I work with. I work with teachers who are on that same schedule. I had the question come in about shift workers. And ultimately, if your schedule is crazy and if you're given, so like at schools, for example, lunchtime's always at lunchtime, or I've had teachers that have like a prep break at 9:30, and it's like, I got my break at 9:30, but I'm not really hungry. Should I eat anyway? To me, it's like, yeah, sometimes you have to kind of manipulate this a little bit to make it work for you, right? So in using the example I just gave, the 9:30 a.m. prep period, I've had a client that had that, and I said, well, why don't you just break fast at 9:30, even though you're not hungry? Just put that protein down range because your insulin is still there waiting to take it up. It's like, yeah. You feed it. We're going to, just in this scenario, we're going to just kind of like preemptively answer hunger because it just makes sense from a scheduling perspective. But biochemically, you still get the benefit of that uptake that we want to really ride the wave of. So with kids, I don't have them, but I was one once. And it's like and this is for adults too, to be honest with you, because a lot of grown-ups have jobs where they get a lunch break in the middle of the day, or they have lunch meetings. I guess that's not really a thing right now. I'll always say, usually breakfast is the one meal that you have control over, because usually that's done at home. Lunch is the one that's kind of like, that's foisted upon you sometimes when you're like at school or at work. It's like the lunch hour is foisted on you, but typically breakfast can happen at home. I really, really advocate for making 5 minutes of time to feed yourself in the morning if you can, if that's the best time to do it. I'm a really staunch advocate for doing that. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in depth, but so folks who have, whether it's kids or anybody who works any kind of specific schedule, you inherently can't follow the rhythm because you are bound by a schedule, and that's a real damn shame. It's a real bummer, but that's life. That's how life is. So what parts of your day, though, are you still in control of your rhythm? I think breakfast before you leave the house is one of your opportunities to um, dance in this harmony with your body. So have breakfast. Have breakfast before you leave. I want to see what the Zoom question was. Isabella says, I'm not really hungry when I wake up. What are your thoughts if my epic break fast isn't around 11 or noon? Perfect. First hunger of the day, go for it. But here's what I will say about that. Not to you specifically, Isabella, but generally this is a comment I hear a lot when I suggest this idea. People will say, yeah, but I'm not hungry in the morning. And I'll say, well, what did you eat last night? Oh, well, I had like a huge steak and a bunch of vegetables and potatoes, and then I had a bunch of snacks watching TV. No wonder you're not hungry in the morning. You just ate a pile of calories, like a pile of fuel went downrange before bed. Your body's still working through that. You know, you put the bulk of your calories in the end part of your day when the body isn't really expecting to take it up and use it, so the body's still kind of dealing with it. I'm not here to tell you that eating late at night is going to cause fat gain. I'm never going to speak in those terms, but from a fuel usage perspective, when you wake up in the morning after eating like that, of course your body's not asking for more fuel. It's still burning off what it had last night. So when you get into this rhythm after a while, and this is where the rhythm part comes in, and this was where I struggled too. When I went through this change 12 years ago, I was eating just like I described here. I was skipping breakfast, having a coffee, salad for lunch, and then big old supper, and then snacks, because that's culturally what we do. And when I read this idea and it made sense to me, I had to really square peg round hole my behaviors into this paradigm because I wasn't ready for it. But guys, it didn't take too long before it started to just kind of, well, click. I mean, it's the rhythm of your body. And as soon as you kind of start stepping in line with it, I can't even articulate to you how peaceful this gets. Like suddenly you do wake up and you're like, I feel hungry. I'm going to answer that hunger with some protein. Your body's like, thanks. You ride that wave of satiety for hours and hours, and then your meals kind of taper off. And the next day you wake up and you have a hunger, a gift from your body, and you feed it the way you're supposed to, and your cells and your insulin's like, thank you. And oh my gosh, this rhythm. When I talk about an effortless relationship with food, this is a huge part of it. Like you're just jiving with your body and it feels really nice. So, but at first it's clunky. At first it's clunky because you're trying to, again, square peg round hole. So you might wake up and say, Aaron told me to have a whole bunch of protein for breakfast this morning, but I'm not hungry. Well, wait until you are hungry and then really satisfy that first hunger. And then after a few days, what you might find is that hunger does show up earlier because your food intake has just naturally tapered off in the evening a little bit, which is honestly what your body's expecting anyway, if that makes sense. That was a good question. I feel like I want to riff on one thing real quick. I'm just gonna make sure there's no other questions that came in. Makes total sense. Yay. Facebook. Good. Okay. So this question came in and I love it. And I want to start by saying, I love this question. I love all these questions. I have no judgment. I probably have to answer this question 5 to 8 times a week, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. The question is, what is a real fast grab and go breakfast I can take on the run that satisfies these requirements? Well, if you've been here a while, you might know what my answer to this is. Does anybody know what my answer is to this question? Anybody have an idea what my answer is to the question of the world's fastest breakfast? I made a YouTube video, gosh, I don't know, 5 years ago. And before I had my eyebrows done, so I don't like sharing it. But I made a YouTube video because this question to me is so interesting. So I get protein. Okay, my answer to the question of what is the world's fastest breakfast is, why do you need the world's fastest breakfast? Why can't you take 5-10 minutes to feed your damn self? Tell me why you can't add 10 minutes to your morning to scramble some eggs which takes 3 minutes, by the way. Tell me why you can't roast some sausage in the oven while you're in the shower. Why do you need the world's fastest breakfast? Aren't you more important to yourself than that? Aren't you just a little more important to yourself? I know you're busy. I know you're busy. I know you're important. But in the interest of self-care, don't you think the ultimate expression of self-care is taking down care of yourself, fueling yourself so you can feel energized and clear-headed and focused and fed, and you're not plagued by mindless eating, which is what we're here talking about. Why can't you take 10 minutes? Somebody give me something. Somebody give me something. Tell me why you can't take time. Tell me how busy you are. Tell me. I want to hear how busy you are that you can't do it. I'm waiting. I will wait. I'm getting a lot of good answers though. Julie's like, A&W, bacon and eggs. Well, if we're looking for grab and go meals, that's one of my faves. But on a more existential level, when you ask me for the world's fastest breakfast, I'm going to push back on that. Like, can you give me 10 minutes? Can you give yourself 10 minutes to just make breakfast? Why not? I'm getting a lot of like, have a protein shake, grab a meat snack from the fridge. There's lots of options for fast grab and go protein forward breakfast. There is. But my question is, why does it have to be so fast? Okay, I work from the home. I don't have to get up and go anywhere, or so we think. I usually have pretty packed schedule myself. But I used to have a corporate day job, and I had to get up and be on the road to sit in traffic for 45 minutes so I can get to my meeting on time. And I know what it's like. I'm not stupid about that. But when I went through my health transformation, I had a corporate day job. I woke up 10 minutes earlier because I said to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. So if the solution to not living like this is waking up 10 minutes earlier, not mashing the snooze button like one fewer time, so I can go scramble some eggs and cook a sausage in the oven while I'm in the shower, that takes 10 minutes. Like that was worth it to me. I'd hit a point where it was like, I'm not willing to just throw myself under the bus anymore. So you have to make that decision for yourself. When I made that YouTube video years ago, somebody had said to me, I like to have toast and a banana and a yogurt. That's my breakfast because I eat it in the car. I put the toast in the toaster. I put some mascara on, grab my toast, grab my yogurt, grab my banana, go in the car, eat it while I'm driving. I need something as fast as that. And I was like, there's nothing as fast as that. That is the world's fastest breakfast. I can't beat that. Can we negotiate on how much time you have? Because I don't think that's a really substantial breakfast. I don't think that's serving you. Clearly, it's not serving you because here we are working in a coaching relationship together. So clearly it's not working. There's no way I can beat that on the clock. But I'll also point out that breakfast is lame. That's a super lame breakfast. That's not epic. That's not an epic way to start your day. That's lame. Body deserves better than that. And by the way, if you have that breakfast, I know it's fast, but it also F's off in a hurry. You don't ride the wave of satiety when you have toast and a banana and a low-fat yogurt. It's not serving you. So that's my little snarky answer to the what's the world's fastest breakfast question. It's like, I don't care. Get out of bed 10 minutes earlier, make a real breakfast. Gosh darn it. Get into harmony with your body. Your body's waiting in the early part of the day to take up the day's fuel, and you give it a black coffee and a piece of toast or a banana. It's something lame. That's just not right. And I tell you guys, that breakfast sounds like mindless eating too. Just said, good point, Mary Lou. Mary Lou made a good point here on Zoom. She said, grabbing toast, a banana, and a yogurt on the way out the door, flying out the door, is the definition of mindless eating. And we're here to cure that, right? So why don't you drop into mindfulness in the very first moments of the day when your body biochemically is waiting to grab, take, use fuel. This is your opportunity to actually get into harmony with your body, which you probably haven't been in decades. And I'm coming to you from the future. I'm 12 years down this garden path, and the peace and the tranquility and the rhythm and harmony that I have with my body, it's hard to put your finger on. It's hard to put your finger on what it feels like to just always feel great. in your body energetically, but also in the context of your relationship with food. You know, I don't know, it's a nebulous concept. The whole day 3 harmony thing is nebulous. Um, Chris on Zoom said, okay, because this is another good comment. So Chris said, I used to think I liked smoothies, not because of how great they tasted, but because of how efficient they were. But Aaron ruins everything. Yeah, I'm going to push back on the smoothie thing too. You're like, well, what about a smoothie? That's quick and easy. No, it is not. I call bullshit on that. You kidding me? You put all those ingredients, you got to chop, pulling everything out of your freezer, you got your powders, you got your oils, you got your blender, you got to clean that thing, it's spewing everywhere. And then you got your cup. Oh my gosh, there's nothing remotely efficient or convenient about a smoothie. And plus they're lame as well. I tried one time, I also did an old YouTube video where I tried to make a smoothie that, to my mind, satisfied the morning's request for fuel. And it was just like, it was the nastiest thing. It was full of so much protein, like 3 scoops of protein powder. There was coconut milk for fat. There was virtually no fruit in there because I didn't want all that sugar. It didn't taste good. It made a huge mess in my kitchen. And no, smoothies, not convenient. Scrambled eggs, super convenient. You kidding me? In fact, I will race you. Who wants to race me? We'll go to the kitchen right now. You go to your kitchen, make a smoothie. I'll go to my kitchen, make scrambled eggs. We'll see who finishes first. And then you have to do the dishes. You have to do the dishes too. Whoever does the dishes and puts them away wins. Who's going to win? I'm going to win, right? Change my mind. Okay. So I get a little worked up, clearly, but I want to take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath with me, because what we're talking about here today is getting into harmony with your body. And I can't say this enough, you probably haven't been up until now, ever. And lots of that is not your fault. There's a whole cultural paradigm that has taught us to fight, hate, manipulate, micromanage this thing. And I'm saying, what if we just tried something a little different? What if we just stepped into a completely different energy, listened to what the body's asking for, answered it in the way it was expecting, and just see what happens? This is my day 3. What do you guys have for me? Questions? Drink water first? Question mark. You can drink water. Go ahead and drink water. I got a lot of questions about water. I got that one yesterday about water. Like, if you're feeling hungry, maybe you're just thirsty. Should you drink a glass of water instead? I'm like, oh, sure. Go ahead and drink a glass of water. Like, fill yourself, like, knock yourself out, drink water. But hunger is hunger and thirst is thirst. And hunger in the morning when your body's requesting fuel, it's like, well, yeah, you can give your body water. It's not going to satisfy the body's fuel requirements at all. Like, it's totally different biochemical pathway. Hydration and feeding, they're different. So you can drink water anytime you want. But when we're talking about feeding, we got to think about how to optimize what the fuel is and when it's going in. So yesterday we talked about what the fuel is, answering hunger because your cells are asking for a certain type of fuel in a certain type of like bioavailability and nutrient density. So that's why I said try to have more protein, because that really just does the job. And today I'm saying now put a lot of that protein in the early part of the day. So I'm just adding a little timing piece to it. And the reason for that is because in the early part of the day, it doesn't have to be right as soon as you get out of bed, but in the early part of the day, your body is just more poised to take up that fuel and put it into the cells to achieve the nourishment, to satisfy the hunger, which has the downstream effect of making hunger, appetite, and cravings quieter so that you don't succumb to mindless snacking, mindless rifling through the cupboards, mindless poking things in your mouth because you're bored. It all comes down to how can we satisfy hunger more effectively and efficiently. And today it's about getting into harmony with your body. It's a really beautiful thing. Hope it makes sense. I know it's a little weird. I appreciate you for staying with me on this. If there's any more questions, throw them down in the Zoom, in the Facebook, in the Instagram, and I'll stick around for just another minute or so. If there's any questions that come in. Otherwise, tomorrow We're going to talk a little bit about behavior stuff, behavior and habit, because when people talk about their mindless eating, they always describe it as a bad habit. I have a bad habit of boredom eating. I have a bad habit of evening snacking. I have a bad habit of, and it's like, well, what triggers this behavior? Like, why are habits always bad things? First of all, nobody ever talks about their good habits. And then, like, what's sort of the root cause of this behavior? And like, how can we get you into the moment of making those decisions so that you just make a different decision that you feel better about? So we're talking about behavior change at obviously a super high level tomorrow. We only have like, half an hour on these chats. I'm not going to do a massive deep dive into behavior change, but we'll talk about your behaviors. And what I'd also like you guys to do as a parting thought is put this stuff into practice. Like, please, I beg of you. This is day 3. The whole idea was when I deliver a daily lesson that you then try it. So I'd love to know what's happening since yesterday when you started eating more protein. Now I want to know tomorrow what happens when you answer your first hunger of the day with an epic protein forward breakfast. How does that feel? And on Friday, I'm going to ask you even more questions, but I want you to put this stuff into practice. This is meant to be an actionable, intentional program that you actually go and do and put into action. So please do, and tell me how it works out. Okay. So tomorrow we talk about behavior. We talked already about your environment. We talked about your biochemistry twice. Tomorrow we're talking about your mind. Your environment, that's the easiest thing to manipulate. Biochemistry, second easiest thing to manipulate, in my opinion. What's happening in your body. Third, hardest thing, up here. So we're going to just really manage our expectations about our mindset, our behaviors, our habits, all that stuff. And we'll have a real gentle conversation about it tomorrow. So I want you to come to this conversation tomorrow with questions about your own habits or some revelations about your own behaviors. Start thinking about triggers. We're going to talk about triggers tomorrow as well. Isabella says, I'm already snacking less. Not even having the snacks around has been a total game changer. 1,000,000%. Okay, thank you, Isabella, for just justifying my whole belief. Day 1 of this 5-day mindful eating solution is do yourself a solid, get these foods out of the house. It's just way easier. And Isabella has just corroborated that. She's like, yeah. I posted in my Instagram feed yesterday. I was rifling through the cabinets yesterday. I'm like, I gotta eat something. I'm hungry. But I didn't have anything. I didn't have any treats. My neighbor has these cute little girls. They're 7 and 3 years old. Piper and Harper. And when Piper and Harper come over, they're like, can we go see the kitties? Can we go see the horses? Do you have any snacks? And I'm like, can't help you with that, kids. I've got cucumbers. Do you like cucumbers? Seaweed? I got nothing. I literally don't have snacks in my house. So when I got hungry yesterday at 4 p.m, looking through the cupboards, looking for something, there was nothing. And I had to boil some eggs and eat a couple carrots because I didn't have anything. But if I had had something in my house, like a cracker or a chip, guess what I would have eaten? I would have eaten the shit out of crackers and chips, but I didn't have it. If I want it, I go get it, eat it, call it done, right? No shame in eating chips or crackers, but when we're trying to get to the root of mindless eating, getting that stuff out of your house really helps. So I'm loving, Isabella, that you noticed that. That's awesome. All right. I feel like Facebook might have a couple more comments. Nope, we're good. And Instagram is radio silent, so we are going to pack it in for today. And I really appreciate you guys sticking around while I kind of riff on this. It gets a little rambly for me because this concept it's a little out there, but hopefully I helped make some sense of it. And all I ask you to do is tomorrow when your first hunger of the day shows up, if it's convenient for you, answer that hunger epically because that's what your body deserves. And then you can get into harmony with your body. Now, if your schedule doesn't allow you to do that, then I encourage you to either preemptively answer hunger, so get out of bed earlier, make a real breakfast before you get on with your busy day, or you can push it back to later, but it doesn't matter to me. Does not matter to me, but your first intake of fuel of the day, make it substantial. Don't give me this toast and peanut butter bullshit. Okay, that's all I have to say. I appreciate your attention, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Instagram out. Bye. And Facebook and Zoom out. We'll see you tomorrow.